All right. This is probably the talk I was most excited to see when the CFP came through. Not to put any pressure on Jyoti, but um,
No
there's just once
pressure.
in a while you see a talk title and you're like, that is the perfect talk for this conference because it's so unusual and I've never heard of anything like it, and that's pretty cool. So,
Hi, everyone. Well, storytelling with hand puppets in AR. A little about me. Mom to this adorable 2.5-year-old little one. That's my husband. He's going to join us. Technologist, been so forever. Currently making AR games for kids learning. Thinker, well, I think it's because I think too much. Okay, so one of the, like, my favorite mantra as a parent has been stories come in handy when you don't want to give candy, or when you don't have candy, as this one says. Uh, so yeah, stories, bedtime stories, puppets, storybooks have been so core to our parenting for Aida. It's our daughter. Um, and one of the reasons we believe in it so much is how stories are catalysts for imagination. Uh, so they while we have to raise up our kids um, to learn about the real world, to believe in the real world, to adopt the practices we have. But we also have to nurture and raise them to imagine, to wonder, or so we believed uh, when thinking of how are we going to raise her up. So yeah, stories are triggers for imagination. They tell you how to switch the context from real world and get into a different world, adopt uh, the practices, the good and bad of it, and start uncovering more. Of course, there's a downside. Like Aida, we're taking her to the play area sometimes, and she's like, I don't want to play with, there's a friend Noah, but I want to play with Mufasa. so, but that's a topic for another day. While trying to articulate stories and while trying to use this handy tool, um, what what we faced was words always fall short. You would need to paint the picture. You would need them to be immersed in what you are articulating. You want them to be able to imagine. The weight is still a lot on imagination, and that and to nurture that part, um, augmented reality came to the rescue. Um, we've Me and my husband both have been augmented reality enthusiasts, and we've been exploring this technology quite a bit. And it's impressive how you can tweak reality, how you can enhance reality, how you can create an immersive experience um, right in your living room, um, and you or the child can go in and out of that world so soon. It's not something they have to dream to think about. So the strength of augmented reality really impressed us to be used for storytelling, because you can express, you can create the worlds, and you you can you have no issues of you need more. Um, logistics. For example, or let me come back to that. Let's see how we started. So when we started using augmented reality as a tool for storytelling, we started testing the hand pose recognition. Our initial thought was we're going to not use puppets, because how many puppets will you ultimately go by? We're going to use virtual puppets. So let's recognize the hand poses and go by the gestures, and then tell new stories. This is just sorry. This is a small video of just a small experiment that we did of how the model recognizes the fingers and therefore the gestures. We'll talk a little more about it during the demo. But while doing this, while doing the hand pose recognition, and while using it as a sample for creating experiences, for creating stories, what we noticed was, as soon as you part totally from the physical objects and the world is totally virtual, is completely virtual, it felt like there was something missing. The connection was getting harder to build. Kind of like, again, the weight went into keeping it all in the brain instead of having something to connect with. And that's where we started using hand puppets again, the real hand puppets. Hand puppets as a visual cue. In the real world, the real hand puppets, because they're tactile, they again help you in imagination. So our experiments, or our technique here on, was to use a hand puppet, create a world, and take these puppets into that world and make stories, which again leads to or enables translation of those experiences which you had in augmented reality to the real world when you come out of it. So you will still want to do a high five with Mufasa, or you will still connect that the sun rises when the animals roar in the morning. So you will experience certain things in those stories, but when you come out of it, you will still be able to imagine. That's the context switch, which we've always felt is harder when practicing imagination. Excuse me. So the role of having a real-world object in the model, in the technique, felt important. And that's why this line, don't save money, invest in the puppets. I'll share some, like just a couple of those, but things that we really did. These are just simple crayon drawings, which we anyway would do in her sketchpad to interact, and then use our sounds to tell her stories. Just being able to bring them out of the sketchpad. So here what we've done is we've brought them out of the sketchpad, and now they are in the real world as a virtual object, and the puppet is real. So the puppet Dumbo will interact with this, will be cooking, and you can move the puppet, you can do those actions and show it in these drawings. This is just one example in which we are using drawings, but there are more in which the objects are interactive. This and this, where the apple fell on the monkey's head, and we're doing a take on the Einstein theory, but I hope nobody gets offended by that. So these simple translations of the creation of world or the creation of immersion in which the scene is more visible to the child, and and the child can see how these puppets are interacting in those moments, helps them in future imagine those worlds or find them in the memories. And yeah, that's it's one of the things which we'll do a small demo of just a very small gesture, but how is it working? From one of the stories that we did, and just to show how this works technically, and talk a little more about the technique on the technical side. And we'll, yeah, Anup will join.
Hey guys.
Hey.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
And I will take this. So,
Take this.
small correction. Apple fell on Newton's head, not Einstein.
Oh, sorry.
Too many stories to remember. And the last bit. Oops, sorry about that. Is it okay? Okay. Yeah, let's go in
Yeah.
just a sec.
And I'll go in.
All right. And now we should have it showing here. Actually, I don't need the, or maybe that's fine. So what we will do is, as she described, Mufasa will bring the day on. Oh. What? Okay. All good. Let's do it. I actually needed that side, but let's give it a shot. I don't know. Alright. So, here's Mufasa. Just not AR yet. But things may happen.
He's really not the only puppet we have, but we're just
So,
doing.
it's nighttime. But slowly, when Mufasa rises, the entire kingdom rises. And when Mufasa sleeps, the kingdom sleeps. So, good morning. Good night. Alright. There's a bunch
I
of
think
things.
she's doing it.
So that's just one of the ways in which just recognition of where and how the puppet is in the real puppet is in the real world affects the virtual world, and the possibilities are endless. You can imagine the kind of stories that you tell kids, and it's like sugar just improves everything.
It's just so much easier when, especially for the sharing story, in which there's a giraffe.
Yes.
And there's a monkey, and the monkey wants help from the giraffe to pick fruits. And like, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but I'll just tell once he needs help to pick the higher fruits. And he's like having fun and like, no, I'm not going to give it. It's mine. That's kind of a thing that is repeated in stories when the kids say, it's mine. So,
Wait a second.
and
Wait,
it's so
wait,
much
wait.
easier.
I just say it's mine. It's mine.
Water is mine.
That's the story.
So
So in the story, basically, giraffe is selfish and is eating up all the monkey's fruits, but then giraffe gets hurt, can't get up, and so it has to take monkey's help somehow, and so it does that. Monkey goes up the tree, and we do this here, that when the puppet goes near the tree branches,
tries to.
fruits disappear. so it's eating the fruits and so on. And eventually, the giraffe learns to share because when it had a problem, it learned how sharing helps.
Like it's so much easier to show that that there are trees and there are fruits now, but the giraffe is somehow not able to go reach them, and it just broke its leg. And she would see that scene much better that way. So yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the tech.
Yeah.
So
Hand
we
pose
started out with hand pose recognition, as you said, but that's not what is working here because it's puppet, not hand. And hand pose recognition has issues working in real time on a mobile device anyway. You can do it well on a good GPU machine, but not so much on a mobile device. So we actually even tried to, when that didn't work as good as we wanted it to, we even tried to recognize and track nail art. So it would be your nail art which is running the demo, but the kid thinks it's just you. But that didn't work either very well because we need to go far away from the phone to have a big world which the protagonist then interacts with. So eventually what we landed onto is object recognition, where you track specific points, and it doesn't matter what those points are. With object recognition, it's just like if that point travels around the frame, the handlers will know that this thing moved and where it moved on the screen, and then we translate that from the screen onto the real world, and eventually have the puppet move about in the real world. That covers it. We can cover more questions as and when you have them, or even afterwards we'll be around.
Yeah.
And then we have a surprise gift for you guys too.
But that's not right
You'll
now.
take it over now.
But that's not right now. It's coming in later.
Thank you.
Okay. So, thank you. So that just brings us to this. This is the concluding point, that imagination is anti-fragile. So while the stimulus can be like you can have a lot of stimuli in the stories that you are telling, imagination is only going to open up like a fractal and going to move in different directions and uncover more. So it just is about using the tech and the tools that we have to nurture it, to engineer it in the right directions, or to give it enough fodder. That's what we wanted to communicate. That's what we wanted to share. We are not on App Store and not out yet, but we are signing up for beta testing. So it'll be really nice if some of you are interested, or if you want to spread the word, and you can get in touch with us and send us a mail for beta testing. And that's it. I think I should have added my email address, which is not there. That's what I was thinking. Oh no, I don't have my email address here. But it's just.
You're on Twitter. Methodiva.
Oh
right?
yes.
Yes. So people can find
Yeah,
it
you
that
could
way.
you could find me on Twitter. That's it. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Your thoughts and questions?
Well, thank you
Feedback?
so much.
Thank you.
I realized I forgot to share your amazing poem, so I want to do that real quick, if
Oh my
that's okay.
God.
Totally forgot that. So I ask each speaker what they want me to say about them, and then I usually forget to say it because I'm so excited to hear their talks. But this one was really cool. So it says, I think XML sucks. May it die a slow and torturing death. I think HTML rocks. May it live long and prosper. And I can't even begin to have a clue why. So I thought that was really nice.